Hey everybody out there, my name is Dragnix, and this is Defragmented. $14.99 came out on the Steam store last Friday, does have a 10% launch discount that's available until this Friday. Now, it's a top-down shooter in an 80s sci-fi world, and in terms of reviews, Indie Game Magazine says it's one of the best visions of 80s sci-fi in recent years, and Game Ramble says that it's not afraid to challenge players, but prevailing against overwhelming odds is extremely satisfying. Do I agree with those assessments? Well, let's find out. Alright, let's start a little bit with the story. You've got a typical plot here from an 80s sci-fi movie. You've got government versus free will. The government has this council, and this council seems to believe that cloning the same people over and over again in this sort of dystopian world is the best solution for the human race going forward. Use the best and the brightest. On the other side of this conflict is this rebel group that is wanting an evolution. They're afraid that the human race is going to die out when everything gets stale, that you don't make progress when you have the status quo. And when the machines break down, when everything breaks down, then the human race won't be able to adapt and survive. What this plot does very well, though, is the fact that even though you have these two groups, fighting each other, it makes it clear that it's not a one-on-one battle. There's a lot of people involved that have their own goals, and it's not just cut and dry in terms of a group being evil and a group being good. There's a lot of complexity in the plot here, and I do actually want to know more about this world. Yes, it's not exactly the greatest of writing, but the fact of the matter is that I was intrigued about what was going on. I wanted to see the plot go forward. Now, the plot does have some WTF moments in it, and there are some parts of it that are a little bit strange, like the Egyptian portion of it, as you see by the servants of Anubis. I'm not exactly sure where the symbolism here is going, but the fact is that it is intriguing and is the strongest part about this game. Alright, let's get to the meat of the game though, the gameplay. As I mentioned before, this is a top-down shooter, and you've got a couple of abilities at your disposal. First of all, you can have up to 3 weapons at a time. These range from pistols to sniper rifles to shotguns, each with their own ammo type. You can run out of the ammo and you'll have to switch to the other weapon, and you do have a reload cycle that you have to deal with. Now, while you have the ability to melee and the ability to throw bombs, for example, the gunplay is the most important aspect to Defragmented, and I really want to center in on the controls first. Now, you have 2 major control schemes. You have the controller and the mouse and keyboard, and the mouse and keyboard is the superior control set here. Now, this comes down to implementation. The fact of the matter is that the only reference I have to where I'm aiming with the control stick is the laser. Now, if the laser hits a wall, I don't know exactly where I'm aiming if I'm going, beyond that wall. So if I'm trying to hit this soldier beyond the wall here, I am basically guessing of where I'm aiming. On the other hand, if I have the mouse, you'll notice that blue and pink cursor there. That's where I'm exactly aiming, and so there's a little bit more precision there. Now, the gameplay may look very similar to Hotline Miami, and it is very similar to Hotline Miami, although it does have an RPG mechanic and a leveling system, as you see in the bottom left corner of the screen. And in addition, you don't die via one bullet hit. You can take up to a couple of hits, depending on how much HP you have. Now, while the game plays very similar to Hotline Miami, there's one other major mechanic it adds in terms of its weapon system and its loot drop system. Yes, you can get different weapons based on what enemies you kill or what you buy from the store. And these weapons have all unique stats, DPS, and in particular, accuracy, which is pretty much the most important stat in this game. Now, it's not like the enemy can't miss, they can. But just watch this clip, and I think you'll understand what I'm talking about in terms of the accuracy problem. Now, I'm about to go into this room, and immediately I get a shotgun blast to the face. No real chance for me to survive there. And unfortunately, the game's mechanics start to cause that reliance on accuracy to become worse and worse, like a drunken cowboy who's attempting to have a standoff after a bender at the local saloon. Because one of the most common problems with the top-down shooter genre comes into play here, a problem that is made oh so much worse by the accuracy problem mentioned. It's a deadly 1-2 punch of the camera and the level design. Look, the camera is from the top-down perspective. You have that third-person kinda over-the-shoulder view, as I showed you earlier in this clip, But with the aiming in this game, it's disorienting, and it's something that you'll avoid entirely. Now, Defragmented has enemies that exist off-screen, and they have a range of sight as well, usually indicated by their laser pointers. The red glow may give you a hint at times of where they are, but if they are looking the other way, then you really get no hints of what's about to happen. And whether or not you can see them, that really doesn't matter, because they may be able to see you. And that deadly accuracy will mean a lot of frustrating deaths. A lot, a whole bunch, a bundle full, however you want to call it. This game has the frustration factor through the roof. And there's some levels that really fail to try to minimize this effect. This train level, for example. The line of sight is so long here, and the threat of the train doesn't help the situation. It's very easy to walk right into danger that you can't get away from, and then you'll be right back at the start, ready to do it again. There's a lot of trial and error gameplay here. Walk too fast, get shot in the face. Think that you're behind something safe, only to find out it's not so safe. Try again. While Hotline Miami 2 also had this problem in certain levels, it felt like Defragmented ramped it up to 11, to the point where I just didn't really feel like any skill I had was going to make the difference in the end. There are skill trees that can help you get some talents that may make this a tiny bit easier, but to be perfectly honest, it felt tacked on in the end. Sure, the ability to heal HP and up your crit rate is great, but when the base gameplay has these particular flaws that I've pointed out, you can't help but think that it's not going to make a huge difference. Yes, I'm a level 18 Cyberzerker that can go into a tank mode when going under a certain percentage of HP. That still won't save me from walking right into an onslaught of bullets. And while those abilities may be useful at certain points of the game, I do have to call into question the implementation from a UI perspective. Now at the bottom of the screen there you have weapons 1, 2, 3 and abilities 4, 5, 6. What is ability 4? What is ability 6? What is weapon 3? I have no idea. Why a logo or a symbol wasn't used to represent the abilities so you have any idea of what's going on, I have no idea. This is a very, very standard thing in the genre, and it makes absolutely no sense of why it was implemented this way. You'll notice that I've been bitching a lot about this game, and its issues that range from minor to what the heck were you thinking? And the thing is, that's because the main gameplay is pretty much the same thing over and over and over again. Sure, different environments help, and the difficulty levels are nice, but the enemies are relatively the same with few new ones introduced here and there. And even those that are introduced are things like stationary turrets with more HP. That's not a really big change in the end. This game bored me rather quickly. It wasn't able to keep my attention up due to a lack of punch of not only the weapons, but it wasn't able to do enough to hide the fact that I was straight up killing dude after dude after dude. And let's talk about the environment, shall we? In particular, one thing in the environments. One thing that not only drove me up the wall, but literally wanted me to close the game, delete it, and never speak about it again. See, contrary to my analysis skills and game design elements, I love playing around with stupid shit in games. You can see it in my Gravity Rush Remastered review, where I randomly tripped people. So with there being shit on the floor that I can move around, okay, you seemingly have something stupid for me to enjoy. But you know what's not fun? When that stupid shit gets in the way of actual gameplay. See these boxes? See this tight corridor? See the fact that it can actually mess with your aiming and your movement and your ability to freaking play the game? This is the best example of a reoccurring theme in the game. Random shit on the ground impeding your progress. This became a constant struggle, as this shit didn't really seem to affect the enemy, but it damn well affected you. And with the enemy's pinpoint accuracy in terms of being able to see you from afar, that temporary blinding due to that random shit, yeah, it's a problem. Especially in this level, where I couldn't not hit it. It was always in the way, it was always causing problems, and just made certain parts of the game unbearable. Even the nice electric soundtrack that does a good job of complementing the sci-fi themes doesn't take your mind off the gameplay and its ability to dig into your head and hit the anti-pleasure parts of your brain. Look, at the $15 price tag, the price tag equivalent to games like Hotline Miami 2, which I can't help but compare this game to, it's hard to say that this game lives up to its potential. Sure, the story elements are there, and there's an interesting world constructed here, but the gameplay falls flat on its face. It's like it understood some of the fun of mechanics of games like Hotline Miami 2 and like Borderlands, and tried to make them fit together, without understanding why those elements are fun by themselves. It's a bit like taking 3 different sets of puzzles and then taping parts of them together to make the final product. I mean, it's still a puzzle. A disjointed puzzle that doesn't make a lot of sense in the end. But it's a puzzle nonetheless. In the end, Defragmented does not get a recommendation from me, and hopefully they can fix some of the problems or be able to learn from it for a future game. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. If you found this video useful, hit that like button, maybe share it with a friend. I write an appropriate Steam review that you can find in the description below for games on Steam, and I'll respond to any comments below regarding questions about the game and feedback about the video. If you want to see more content like this, hit that subscribe button, and you can check out my last video in the top left and a related video in the top right. You want to keep this channel running as well? Then consider supporting my work on Patreon, which you can find in the description below, along with my Google Plus page, Facebook group, and Twitter handle. This is Dragnix signing out, and keep on gaming.